families. So this is Miss Klein. What I have done is put together a quick little video for you to further explain the reading response bookmarks. So this letter is being sent home with some helpful tips and strategies to make sure that your child is in fact choosing just right books, and then a master copy of the bookmark in which we'll be using for this year. We've talked extensively about good reading strategies in class, and in fact, in our composition notebook, students have learned the proper format of a letter, and then we've talked about, how to actually compose a letter based on a book that we've read, and then ideas that they can put in their letter. And we are encouraging students to have 3 different colors that they can kind of pick from. And then they have started kind of drafting their own reading responses in the form of a friendly letter to their teacher. So the letter explains all the information that you need, and how it works is your child each week, like on a Monday, will probably get 2 of these sheets of papers. So, and I recommended to the kids that they actually fold them kind of like a pamphlet so that they do in fact seem more like a bookmark. So they can just write on the front and back of one. This is one that we modeled in class. It's a book that we're reading as a class read aloud. It's called Matilda, and we actually just did this whole group so that the students are all on the same page on what to do for their homework assignment. They're supposed to read for a minimum of 20 minutes each night, and then kind of as they're reading, they're jotting their thinking down. And on the front, these are just some ideas, kind of like those ideas from the letter that I just showed you in their composition notebooks that they have here at school. This is something we've been pretty much talking about since day 1 of school. As I was reading, I learned that, or I wondered about, or ooh, this character seems blah blah. So just kind of thinking about that. In Matilda today, the small section of the chapter book that we read, of course we didn't finish the whole book, but we read for 20 minutes today in class. We came together and sat in front of the smart board, and we kind of took ideas elicited from certain students who kind of had ideas pop in their head, and it said, okay, as we first started reading, what were we thinking about? And they were like, ooh, I wondered if Matilda would go in the chokey. And I was like, I was wondering that too. So we jotted our thinking down, and then, okay, so in the middle of our reading, it's kind of like beginning, middle, and end. And in the middle of our reading today, what were we thinking about in the story, or what did we learn, or what did we figure out, or what did we predict? And then the students, one of them came up with the idea that when I continued reading, like in the middle, I learned that Matilda had magic powers with her eyes. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. We did learn that in the middle. Well, what about the end of the reading? And the students, I kind of stopped at a cliffhanger in the book, and then they're like, well, I wonder if she's going to actually make the glass tip over for Miss Honey. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to continue reading tomorrow to find out if that actually happens. That's a great one. So what 3 kind of starters did we use for our thinking? And I wondered, and I learned, and an I'm curious. So go ahead and circle those on the front. And I learned, and I wondered, and an I'm curious. The reason we're so explicit about this in the beginning is just to make sure that children, A, have ideas to kind of get started so that they're not stuck, and then B, to make sure that their sentences have variety and structure, and so that they're not just simply kind of retelling the story, but they're really kind of digging deeper, and we're teaching them that reading comprehension is in fact understanding what it is that they're reading. So not just kind of retelling the story, but really thinking about internally as they're reading, and really pulling from those rich reading strategies like visualizing and inferring and making predictions and drawing connections. So if you have any questions, that's kind of how we're doing the reading bookmark this year. And from this day forward to the rest of the year, students should complete one of these each and every night. Reading is the most important thing your 2nd grader can do, and it's the greatest gift that you can give them, is just ensuring that they do in fact read for a minimum of 20 minutes each night. Thanks so much, and in partnership, your 2nd grade teachers.